Yeah. Dear students, as we have discussed earlier, these are the few MCQs, multiple choice questions from our textbook. We are discussing now this mechanics and properties of matter. This is physics FYBSc physics paper 1. Earlier we have discussed the MCQs of properties of material. In today's discussion we are going to discuss these two topics, chapter number 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 1 is the name of the chapter is motion, and there are 10 or 11 MCQs which are given in our textbook, and second chapter is work and energy. So in all 20 questions we are going to solve in today's discussion as follows. So let's come to one by one. So first question is very simple and easy. It is application of something, some Newton's law, first, second, third Newton's law, and etc. So let's read its statement. First one is swimming is possible. Swimming is possible on account of. Okay, so let me take the pen. Swimming is possible on account of. There are how many options are given? First law of motion. Now we know that first law of motion, Newton's law of motion, is it states that the object continues its state of rest or state of motion unless it is acted upon by some unbalanced force. This is your statement of first law. Third law of motion is action and reaction are equal and opposite. That is the third law of Newton's law of motion. And Newton's second law of motion is this rate of change of momentum is the force acting on that particular object. So here in this case, swimming in the swimming pool, if we try to swim, so we make movement of our legs or hands, and that causes a certain force, that gives a certain force on the liquid, and as a result the liquid also gives a certain force on the body, and thereby this action and reaction, this particular law holds good for this type of situation, and therefore third law of motion is applicable for this. So swimming is possible on the account of third law of motion, because in water we apply certain force through our legs or our hands, and as we apply certain force, this is some action, there has to be some reaction, and this reaction is provided by liquid itself or water itself, and because of that this particular swimmer goes ahead or goes backward, whatever direction of the force we have applied according to that. And that's why third law of motion is applicable in case of swimming. Neither first law nor second law of motion is applicable, as well as Newton's law of gravitation is not at all needed in this case. So question number 1, first first question answer is C, that is answer is B. Okay, so this option you should change here. This is B and this is C, or third law of motion is the correct answer of this question number 1. Now 2, velocity of body of mass 20 kg decreases from 20 meters per second. Okay, this is raised to -1 is there, at a distance of 100 meters. Force on the body is, you have to calculate how much type of force, that is called as braking action. If a 20 kilogram boy, if he runs with a speed of 20 meters per second, and if he tries to reduce his speed, and the total distance taken from that reduction of the speed is 100 meters, then you have to calculate how much force that particular boy or that object has applied to reduce its motion. Now most of you could not solve this particular problem because there is some data given here is inappropriate or insufficient. We have been given initial speed, but we have not been given what is the final speed after that object covers a distance of 100 meters. And that's what, to have a correct answer out of this, we need to have this kilogram mass of the 20 kilogram decreases from initial speed 20 meters per second to, okay, last speed or final speed is 5 meters per second. Then you will get a correct answer out of these given options. Okay, so this is what we can go for a very simple example here, simple formula. We have to use this kinematic equation or second kinematic equation, or third you can see. this is v square is equal to u square plus twice e into s. Now v here is this is v is the final speed, initial speed or final speed is given to be 5 meters per second, whereas u initial speed is given here to be 20 meters per second, and the distance that particular object that has traveled to reduce its speed from 20 meters per second to 5 meters per second, that's s is equal to simply 100 meters. So this is the numbers I am having. Based upon that I have to calculate this acceleration. So you can rearrange this formula. So you will get v square minus u square is equal to twice as, or therefore I'll get a is equal to v square minus u square upon twice s. This is the expression for calculating this a. So replace these numbers. V is equal to 5, so its square is now 25 v square. Now u is equal to 20 meters per second, so its square is now going to be 400. Square of 20 is 400. Divide by 2 into 100. So I'll get this calculation gives me small e, or that is the acceleration. Now 25 minus 400, this will be now minus 375. It is going to be negative. So there is a deceleration, braking action. So as brake is applied, there is a deceleration or negative acceleration. So this is 25 minus 400, that is minus 375. Divide by this is 200. If this calculation is done, this acceleration comes to be 1.87. Now this is meters per second square. So this is the acceleration or deceleration provided in the object when it reduces its speed from 20 meters per second to 5 meters per second, and the distance taken for this much reduction of velocity is 100 meters. On this information, on the basis of this information, acceleration calculated is 1.87 meters per second square. So just divide this by 200, you will get this answer to be this. And now we have to calculate the force. So force of a object in motion is given by force is equal to mass into acceleration produced in this case. Now actually it is deceleration. So mass of that object is given to be 20 kilograms, and deceleration in this case or acceleration in this case is calculated to be 1.87 into meters per second square. And therefore if I use these two numbers, this plus minus will be now minus, and 20 into 1.87, that comes to be 37.5 newtons. And hence out of this, correct option is, again here is this wrong, this is B option, this is C option. So this case option C is correct, that is minus 37.5 newtons. So note that this is a example or the problem of deceleration, where object of certain mass 20 kilogram reduces its speed from 20 meters per second to 5 meters per second, and the time is not given, but the distance for this much reduction of velocity has been given to be 100 meters. On the basis of this information, using this third kinematic equation, v square is equal to u square plus twice as, where v is equal to 5 meters per second, u is equal to 20 meters per second, and s is 100 meters. Using this information, we calculate a is equal to minus 1.87 meters per second square. And if this is acceleration or deceleration, acceleration is a positive, deceleration is negative acceleration, and therefore I can calculate this force. Again you are using the second law of motion. Force is equal to Newton's second law of motion. Force is equal to mass into acceleration. Mass is going to be 20 kilogram, acceleration is minus 1.87 meters per second square. Making this simple calculation, this comes to be 37.5 newtons. So this problem can be asked in different number of ways. You have been given, that means out of this u, v, a and s, sometimes you will be asked to calculate acceleration, sometimes you will be asked to calculate the acceleration will be given, and you will be asked to calculate this displacement, or initial and initial velocity will be given, you are asked to find out this final velocity. So lot many changes in this particular simple problem can be carried out, but the method of that will be just same, and you can answer this question as shown by this example number 2. Now the question number 3, the average force to stop a hammer. Okay, so we are having hammer, and the force required, average force to stop the hammer with 25 newtons second momentum. So its momentum is given 25 Newtons second in 0.4 seconds. So if this hammer is to be stopped, or how much type of force or how much average force will be required. So for that case, you will require this initial, though that this initial momentum is given to be. So initial momentum m1 v1, you can go for this initial momentum. So I can call it to be p1. P1 is equal to m1 v1 is equal to 25 newtons second. Okay, this much information has been given. And final momentum p2 is equal to, now m1 will be there, but this v2 will be simply equal to 0. This v2 is 0, therefore this p2 is must be equal to 0. So that object is to be completely stopped after this particular because of this velocity, and therefore this momentum of that is to be made to be equal to 0. Now in this case we can again use the same expression, F is equal to mass into acceleration, which is given by mass into, this is v2 minus v1. Okay, so v2 minus v1, and if this is the case, or v1 minus v2, or I can use that there are two velocities. In general we write velocity, initial velocity is to be u1 and final velocity is to be u2 or u or v. Okay, that is the symbols we generally use. U is the initial velocity and v is the final velocity. So I can use this formula here, m is into, this is final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time required for that. So mass into acceleration, this formula is used here. Initial velocity is given in this particular case, where 25 Newton second is the momentum, m1 is the mass of that object, which is not needed to be calculated here, and here p2 is equal to m into v, that is supposed to be 0, and based upon that I can go for this calculation. So this gives me momentum mv, final momentum, initial momentum is m into u divided by, this is equal to t, and now let's write these numbers there. Then initial momentum is going to be m into u, final momentum is simply 0, so minus this is m into u, and this number is going to be 25 newtons seconds, and this particular number divided by this t. Okay, m is taken inside, therefore that becomes 0, and this becomes minus 25 because mu, initial momentum of that hammer, is going to be 25, and based upon this calculation one can calculate. This is what we have to go for in this calculation. It is 25 divided by 0.4. So I can write this to be this is 25. Okay, so this is 25 divided by 0.4. So this is 250 divided by 4, and let's calculate this. I think there is no answer given here. This is 4 into this will come to be 62.5. This is 62.5 newtons, but here in options you will find that there is no option 62.5, but the option given is 625 newtons. So here either I need this to be 250, this number if is 250, then I'll get this answer to be 625, but if it is given to be only 25, then this answer will be 62.5 newtons. So at present I can take the average force to stop a hammer with 250 Newton second momentum in 0.4 second is, if it is this problem is given this way, then the answer will be 625 newtons. So this is making 250 divided by 0.4, that will come to be 625 newtons, but as it is, when I am given only 25, the answer is 62.5 newtons, and if I am given this particular moment to be 250 Newton second, then the correct answer will be 625 newtons. So in examination I can change this number only. If it is I am writing 250 is the momentum, then answer will be 625. If I am writing this to be 2.5, then this will be 62.5. So likewise we can make a small change here, even though changing this particular number small t by 0.5 to 2.5, again answer of this particular question will be changed. So type of the question may be same, but the answer of the question may be different, because if any of the number is changed in this particular question, your answer will be different as per shown by this particular simple example. Now question number 4. A force of 5 N acts on a body weight 9.8 newtons. What is the acceleration produced? Now how you will calculate this? In this case we know that weight is given by its mass into Earth's gravitational constant mg. So this weight in this case is given to be, so this weight is given to be 9.8 Newton. So I can just calculate this. Out of this I also know that Earth's gravitational constant is 9.8 meter per second square. So provided I am using all the MKS units. So Newton is MKS unit. So I have to use G is equal to 9.8 meters per second square, which is the MKS or SI unit. So this is G provided. This is the W given. Based upon that, I can find out this mass of that object is equal to M is equal to W upon G. Now making this calculation, this W is given to be 9.8 Newton upon G is given to be 9.8 meters per second square. Doing this calculation, we will get mass of this object is equal to simply 1 kg. Since if we are using SI system, mass of that object measured will be simply 1 kg. Now if it is the mass, and now we know that what is the acceleration produced. So force is given and mass of that object is given. Therefore using Newton's second law of motion, we can calculate this force. So force is given using second law of motion, F is equal to M into A. I can calculate this is 1 into acceleration, and therefore acceleration is equal to force divided by mass, and that is given by 5 newtons divided by 1 kg, and therefore this acceleration is going to be 5. Again here unit is MKS, so it is meters per second square, and therefore question number 5, the correct option is this C. Okay, so this is printing mistake again. So B and C. So C is the correct option, that is 5 meters per second square, as has been shown by this particular simple example. So see the method. What we have been given? We have been given weight. So weight is given by mass into Earth's gravitational constant, which is in this case 9.8 meters per second square. Using this value of G and using given W, that is equal to weight, that is equal to 9.8, I can calculate mass of that object is equal to, or body is equal to W upon G is equal to 1 kg. And provided if I know this Newton's second law of motion, force is equal to mass into acceleration. Force is given to be 5 Newton, acceleration is to be calculated. So A is equal to F upon M, and that is why it is 5 newtons per 1 kg, and therefore when we calculate this, it gives me 5 meters per second square, and that's what option C is the correct option for this question number 4. So that is how we have seen this question 4. Now question number 5 is a theoretical. Which of the following quantities measured from different inertial frames are the same? Now what is inertial frame? I have two frames of references. One is this frame which is given by X, Y and Z, and there is another frame of reference, okay, so which is also moving in either Y direction or X direction or any other direction. So this is going to be X prime, Y prime and Z prime. Now if this frame is moving with certain velocity U or V, and if this velocity is uniform velocity, in this case such type of frames of references are called as inertial frame of references. So inertial frame of reference is very simple definition: two frames which are moving away from each other with some uniform velocity, that is inertial frame. Whereas in this case, when these two frames are not moving with constant velocity or uniform velocity, velocity changing, such frames of references are called as non-inertial frames of references. And in this case, as we know from this theory, that force must be same, otherwise displacement may be different, velocity may be different, kinetic energy also may be different. So these are the not correct options. So correct option as per this question, which of the following quantities measured from different inertial frames are same, that is going to be the force. And this is called as the Galilean relativity. Okay, if you remember Galilean relativity or Newtonian relativity. So actually this is not a part of discussion here, but this type of frames of references, when we go for measurement of certain force, this force will be found to be identical according to the observers in frame 1 and frame 2, and that is called as the Galilean relativity. So in this case, question number 5, option A is the correct option. Now question number 6, This is again a common experience where we go for certain sports. A man standing on the spring balance, okay, is standing on the spring balance. The reading of the spring is 60 kilogram kgf, so that is sort of pound. So as long as he is standing steadily, he will measure that weight to be 60 kilogram kgf. If man jumps outside the balance, to get a jump outside the balance, then reading of the spring balance, what happens? So this is a very common experience. Now there are four options given. First increases, then decreases to 0, then directly decreases. C is, this is again wrong order is here. This is C and this is D. Then remains same and finally increases. So here is the spring balance. This is a spring balance provided. Man is standing over here, and to get a jump down here, what he has to do? He has to apply certain force initially on this particular balance. So he will get certain reaction, and because of that opposite reaction, and because of that he will come out of this particular balance. And that's why initially when he applies certain force, now his weight will be somewhat increased. So this A is the correct option. First the reading of the spring balance first increases, and then once he completely removes or gets relieved of this particular balance, then weight here will be shown to be somewhat 0. So initially it will be greater than 60 kilogram kgf, and finally it will be equal to 0. So correct option of this question number 6 is A, and this is a common example that is shown by this particular diagram. Now question number 7. This is again a big not lengthy question. How to go for this question? Same force acts on two bodies of different masses, 2 kg and 5 kg initially at rest. So both of these objects were at rest, and the ratio of the time required to acquire the same final velocity. So object must have final velocity, and initial velocity of both of these are given to be 0. So u1 is equal to 0, u2 is also equal to 0, m1 is given to be 2 kg, and m2 is given to be 5 kg. And what information we have been given? Initially force is same for this, so I can write this relation: F is equal to m1 into a1, and F is equal to m2 into a2 for both of these objects. I can write these forces as F is equal to m1 a1 and F is equal to m2 a2, because both of the forces are just same on both of these objects of different masses. Therefore I can write this relation: F is equal to m1 is now 2, and a1 is given by it is u2, so that is given by v1 minus u1, and divide by this time t1, okay, velocity, changing velocity upon acceleration. Similarly for the second object, it is given by 5 into, now its final velocity is v2, initial velocity is u2. So these are the two velocities, divide by time t2, that will give you acceleration produced in the second object. So first object gives you acceleration like this, second object gives you acceleration as shown by this. But here we have been shown this u1 and u2, initially both of these objects at rest, therefore their velocity is going to be 0. Recording, okay. Yes. Yeah, hello. So we got this to be another example here. F is force of, in both of the cases, given to be 2 into v1 minus u1 upon t1, and for the second object it is 5 into v2 minus u2 upon t2. So in both the cases, as we have given, this u1 and u2 are 0, so this gives me twice into v1 upon t1, and this gives me 5 into this v2 upon t2. So this force here is this force, in this case is given to be this. Now once we calculate these are the forces, I can show here this, I can get a ratio of these two. F is equal to twice v1 upon t1 divided by this capital F is equal to, for the second object it is 5 into v2 divided by t2. So we have to calculate this, the ratio of the time required. We have to calculate t1 is to t2. So here adjusting this relationship, I can write this is to be equal to, so this f here gets cancelled, that is simply equal to 1, and adjusting this I'll get that is equal to twice into, so that is twice v1 upon t1 into t2 upon 5 times v2. One more information given, the two object masses 2 kg at rest, the ratio of time required to acquire the same final velocity, that means we have been given v1 is equal to v2, these velocities are same final velocities. If it is the case, I'll get this v1 upon v2 is equal to simply 1, and therefore we'll get final relation 1 is equal to 5 upon t1 is equal to t2 upon 2, sorry 2 upon t1 into t2 upon 5. So if I take this 5 upon 2 there, I'll get t2, or I can get this here, this t1 upon t2. Okay, adjusting this I'll get 2 upon 5. Therefore ratio of these velocities t1 is to t2 is found to be 2 is to 5, and that's why this D is the correct option of this question number 7 as shown by this simple example. Okay, so here what information we have been given, based upon that we have to calculate what are the forces given, what are the momentum given, what are the velocities given, and based upon that this simple calculation shows you that these two object of masses 2 kilograms and 5 kilograms, to acquire the same final velocity they will require a different time, and which is in the proportion is to be 2 is to 5. That means if first object required 2 seconds, second object will require 5 seconds. If the first object required 10 seconds, then the last object will require 25 seconds. So this ratio will be same for the time required for attaining final velocity, whatever values we may given. Okay, so this is the question number 7. Now question 8, the motion of the particle of mass m is described by s is equal to ut plus 1/2 at square. This is our third kinematical equation. This is your third kinematical equation. Now here the motion of the particle of mass m is described by this. Find the force acting on the particle. Now we have to go for this force. So this s is equal to ut plus 1/2 at square. In this case this force is given by okay, so this is acceleration, so whatever may be the force, this force is given by simply m into e. So a is the acceleration in the case, and therefore the force acting on the particle is this F is equal to ma. So there is no need to discuss anything about this as in the case, and provided sometimes this a will be replaced by g. So when the object is falling down, it will be some object is released from the space, and if it is falling down we can use this calculation. In this case this force will be given by F is equal to m into g. So that change may be there when this a is replaced by g. The force in this case will be force is equal to m into g. According to this you have to take in consideration what is asked. Based upon that we can go for this calculation. Okay, now question number 9. A batsman hits back a ball straight to the direction of the bowler without changing its initial speed of 12 meters per second. If the mass of the ball is 0.15 kilograms, determine the impulse imparted to the ball. Now some of you might be knowing how to calculate this impulse. Impulse is given by force into time. Okay, force into time, or that is F into T is equal to impulse, and in simple terms it is given by mass into change in velocity, that is m into delta v. So in our equation F is equal to mass into acceleration, that is delta v upon t. Taking this t here as a product, we get that is called as impulse, and this impulse can be calculated in a very simple way. Here in this case, first this boy is hitting a ball if it is coming with a speed of 12 meters per second, and if this particular ball is hit by this object, now this particular object gets a velocity now minus 12 meters per second. So try to understand, all the quantities are given in m case. So 12 meters per second velocity in the positive direction, 12 meter per second is the velocity in the negative direction. So change in the velocity, delta or delta v, change in the velocity, delta v is given to be first initially 12 meters per second minus 12 meters per second. If this total change is calculated, this comes to be 24 meters per second. Try to understand, change in velocity is not 0, but change in the velocity is 24 meters per second, because initially it was in the forward x direction, now it is going in the reverse x direction. So it is positive, this is negative, positive minus minus negative, minus negative, that becomes positive positive, positive plus positive, and therefore this total velocity change comes to be 24 meters per second. And now what we have to calculate? We have to calculate this to be m into delta v. So that is the change in velocity. So this impulse F into T is given by mass of this object is given to be 0.15 kg into this is 24 meters per second. If this entire calculation is done, you will get this to be equal to 3.6. Okay, make a calculation. This 15 into 4 is 60, that is 6 comes out. 15 into 2 is 30, into 6 is 36, and there are two decimals, so this is 3.60, that is Newton second. So this impulse in this case is found to be 3.6 newtons per second, and therefore option A is the correct option for this question number 9. Okay, so now let's go to this question number 10. This is the last question on this particular chapter. That is the fundamental forces include. Now gravitational force, electrostatic force, and nuclear, actually it is electromagnetic force, EM force, electromagnetic force, and finally nuclear force, and all of the above. So please note that in this universe, in the existing universe, there are 4 different fundamental forces. Out of this, fourth force is not written. Okay, fundamental forces. So first one is gravitational, that is between two heavy objects like sun and moon, sun and earth, and whatever, these different types of objects. Then in case of electrostatic or electromagnetic force, positively charged particle electron and proton, or electron electron, or proton proton. These type of forces, whenever this difference between distance between them is more than 10 raised to minus 15 meters, as long as especially in case of protons, there is a repulsion, or there is electrostatic repulsion between these two electrons, there is electrostatic attraction between electron and proton. So this type of force is called as electromagnetic force. Whereas inside a nucleus, all these protons and neutrons are there, even though protons are positively charged particle. In this case, if the distance is 10 raised to minus 15 meters, that is called as 1 Fermi. These two protons attract each other. There is an interaction between these two protons where they start attracting other than repelling. So in spite of having this repulsion, now these two protons will start attracting, and thereby all protons and neutrons can remain inside a very small space of the size 10 raised to minus 15 meters. And that is the nucleus. Almost 99.99% of the mass of an atom is composed in the nucleus, and that's what this particular strong nuclear force, which is responsible to hold all the nucleons inside the nucleus, this is called as the nuclear force. Other than that, sometimes some of the neutron comes out, protons remains inside, and this electron comes out. This interaction takes place with the help of, there is one more third fundamental force, which is called as weak force. So as compared to this strong nuclear force, this force is a weak force. That's why it is given a weak force, but that is not included in our syllabus. To try to understand, there are 4 such fundamental forces. Out of this, gravitational, electrostatic, nuclear, all these forces are fundamental. So D is the correct option of this question number 10 as shown by this particular example. So these are the 10 important MCQs on this particular chapter. Now let's discuss in brief what are the different type of concepts we are needed to understand here. So first we have to go for 3 different laws: Newton's first law of motion, second law of motion, third law of motion. Their statement, their expressions, they are to be understood, they are to be written. So based upon that, we can go for calculation of average speed. Average speed is given by change in position and original position, difference between them, divided by the time required for this type of change, and based upon that we can go for average speed. Then average acceleration also can be calculated. This average rate of change of this velocity of an object, that is called as average acceleration. Inertia is another important property wherein we can go for this. Inertia is the property of matter by which it continues its existing state of uniform or motion or state of rest in a straight line unless it is acted upon by some external force. That is what the first law of motion is related directly to this inertia of an object. Then the second law of motion, as we have seen, this is directly related to the force. This is the relation between force and the acceleration. So F is equal to ma. It can be written in several different formats: mass into acceleration. Sometimes we write d square x upon dt square, provided x is the displacement. So there are several type of relations can be obtained in this case. Along with that, we have to remember there are three kinematic equations, that is v is equal to u plus at. Okay, so this v is equal to u plus at. V is final velocity, u is initial velocity, a is acceleration, and t is the time required. Then s is equal to ut plus 1/2 at square, and third equation v square is equal to u square plus twice as. These three kinematical equations are to be remembered. Based upon that, sometimes there can be some MCQs or a multiple choice question may be asked in examination. That is one case. At the same time, we have to go for the discussion of inertial and non-inertial frames, which we have seen just now. The frames which are moving away from each other with certain finite or uniform velocity, such frames are called as inertial frames of references, whereas the frames which are moving away with some acceleration away from each other, such frames are called as non-inertial frames of references. So these two frames, their descriptions etc. is very important from the examination point of view. In the short answer questions, we can be asked what is the definition of speed, average speed, then the velocity of the motion, instantaneous velocity, then how to differentiate between speed and velocity, one is scalar, one is vector, etc. This type of differentiation. State and explain all these three laws, first law, second law, third law there, and maybe there sometimes you will be asked certain applications of first law, second law, third law, etc. What is difference between mass and weight, how to calculate mass, how to calculate weight, what is inertia, then what are the as we have said, this inertia, the inertial frames and the non-inertial frames. This type of differences or this type of example may be asked in examinations. Okay, so today we will stop here in the chapter 1. Tomorrow in the next lecture we will go for this chapter number 2, that is question number 11 onwards. Okay, so thank